Welcome to Startup Confidential, what industry insiders will never tell you that you need to know if you're building a consumer brand. With your host, best-selling author of Ramping Your Brand, Dr. James Richardson. Let's do this.
Welcome to episode 141, Founder Archetypes, the Missionary Founder. The largest trade shows for early-stage consumer brands are hosted by a company called New Hope Media, a trade media company owned by a British multinational. As the name suggests, New Hope is infused with advocacy and missionary zeal, like a whole lot of change the worldism. New Hope's mission is to grow the natural organic products segment, given its origins in the 1990s, when anything organic was truly unknown to most Americans. Hope seems like it was a smart branding move, and it worked. The sheer improbability of scaling anything organic back in the 90s correlated strongly with a need for truly missionary zeal bordering on insanity. I mean, how the hell do you scale organic milk in 1990 when there are virtually no large-scale organic dairies, or even dairies willing to convert their operations to your new standard with its uncertain future and market size? Well, you slog along, converting them one by one like Horizon did. You must believe in a very long-term objective. Today, though, misplaced missionary zeal to change the world with your CPG brand can cause two huge problems on the journey to scale. One, over-designing your product to score ideological points and boost your status in natural organic circles. And two, not professionalizing yourself quickly enough to get to scale smoothly because the mission is over-determining business decisions in an irrational manner. Over-designing happens easily with mission-driven founders because they begin their project by prioritizing purity, displaying a pure commitment to the mission. This easily leads to things like selecting certified organic ingredients for everything in a product, even though organic certification does not require this degree of purity at all. Or it leads to using only the highest grade everything, regardless of the fact that only certain ingredients will have a true sensory impact on a product's memorability. Or it leads to an ideological avoidance of any additives at all, even though 98% of category consumers don't care. And honestly, some additives may actually be necessary for a mainstreamable, commercializable sensory experience. Oops! It's one thing to use kernza as an active ingredient because you believe in helping to scale regenerative agricultural land. It's another to pile on a missionary purity akin to a monastery, where the result will be incredibly expensive to source and produce, or it simply layers on an enormous amount of ideological weirdness a high-growth brand cannot afford to wear in public. But missionary zeal also detracts founders from an equally critical task, and that's professionalizing yourself. If you spend too much time on righteous industry panels, vegan webinars, and applying for the next panel at South by Southwest, you are not spending valuable time upskilling yourself in critical brand management KPIs and math. You could easily get knocked aside by more professional competitors who have copied your mission disingenuously, and even the supply chain it's based on, purely to take your idea and scale it without you. But there's a more fundamental issue with missionary zeal. When you do not channel it professionally into scaling a disciplined brand, you become overly anchored in the end goal, cognitively, and you're not taking the journey seriously. In graduate school, I developed an accidental expertise in missionary psychology. I acquired it at an archive at Harvard, where I spent 2 months reading over 2,000 private letters from American missionaries operating large school systems in colonial India. I was hunting for nuggets of social history to connect to my anthropological fieldwork in a specific town. Anyways, in the 2 months I spent poring over missionary correspondence, I realized there were tons of parallels between the ups and downs and administrative BS in colonial mission schools and basically any mission-driven nonprofit. As I read these letters, I realized there were plenty of missionaries who simply did not belong abroad because they just didn't have what it takes to execute, to slog through the process of setting up cultural institutions in a foreign world. They didn't even like people, per se. Now, it sounds odd, but I found them in the archives. Grade A misanthropes doing essentially a foreign office job they had come to clearly detest. Cultural difference is real, and if you can't show empathy and adapt, living abroad becomes a torture chamber, and it will reflect in your letters home. These folks should have stayed home and written a check instead. At lunch each day during my archival spelunking, I constantly danced between these colonial letters and conversations I'd had with anthropological peers in NGO and development work. Today's modern secular missionaries. I mean, some of them were in my doctoral program at Wisconsin-Madison in the mid-1990s. One was a Peace Corps veteran who'd worked in Guinea in West Africa. She really enjoyed it. The messy, gritty, ambiguous work of executing development programs. She absolutely loved the people and the culture, basically want to go live there. There are two primary kinds of missionary in the world, and mission-driven founders have to decide which one they want to be if they want to be successful in CPG. Just replace the word people with consumers as you listen. 1. The people who like working day in and day out with other people to address their needs. Think Mother Teresa. 2. Or the one who simply wants to race toward an objective by any legal means possible with minimal regard for the people they serve. At times, the same person can flip-flop between these two very, very different frames of mind. Goal-oriented and process-oriented. This is nothing new to organizational psychologists, but what causes for problems for CPG founders who are mission-driven is that the goal, the mission, clouds their judgment as they deliver goods to consumers. They easily spend way too much time doing PR, trade PR, and just interviews constantly about the mission, and too little time listening to their early fans and haters. Too little time iterating, and too little time working to optimize what they have, and otherwise operating the business well. They ruminate too much on the goal and avoid improving the process of reaching it. In an odd way, mission-driven founders can easily become much like the crass stereotype of the Fortune 100 CEO who behaves as if the consumer is a lagging variable in their success, something to be manipulated into compliance. Early-stage companies founded on missionary zeal don't need to abandon their missions. That's not what I'm saying. But they do need to flip the script and learn to delay their gratification. They need to focus on serving consumers in their category until they achieve scale. That's when they can start focusing more on the mission. Besides, at that point, the scale of profits and our unit volume will form a much more impressive story. That's all I got for you this time, folks. Remember, as always, be safe out there.
Thanks for listening. Remember, Dr. Richardson has loads of resources for founders at premiumgrowthsolutions.com. And when you're on his site, don't forget to take his founders quiz and see if you're ready to ride the skate ramp of exponential growth.